So this is my topic. It's all about vulnerability management, and I will be taking you through what I've done so far. I'm a beginner. I'm trying to get into cybersecurity, and so in trying to gain experience, I want to share what I've done so far with you. And so I created a lab, and then I tried to use the NIST framework and then sticks to try and then manage how the vulnerability appears. All right, so who am I? I came from Ghana 2 years ago to pursue MSc in Information and Cybersecurity. During that period too, I got the opportunity to volunteer. This happened in London a couple of months ago. And then I've been also going to conferences. That's what at least they told us. If you want to get into cybersecurity, get network. And that's what I'm trying to do. All right. So let's start with vulnerability management. What at all is vulnerability management? So it is basically not just scanning. Scanning is part of vulnerability management, but the sole aim is to detect or identify, and after identifying, what happens next is you try to remediate or you solve the whatever problem that appears. And not just solving, in trying to solve, you come up with a lot of vulnerabilities. When you do scanning, there are low vulnerabilities, high, medium, a range of them. So how do you determine which vulnerability to resolve? And that's what vulnerability management is all about. So these are terms that are related to vulnerability management. You come up with them, with these things a lot. We have the NIST framework. I told you about it. What it stands for. Basically, they develop frameworks that helps companies, worldwide, to help them improve their cyber posture. So a couple of frameworks. We have the NIST 853, NIST 800, is it 57 or something? I've forgotten. But I'll be dealing with the NIST 853, which is security controls and then mechanisms. And then also the sticks. So sticks are just implementation guides. Primarily, sticks are supposed to be used to harden systems. Okay, so they are just guidelines that is guiding you in improving whatever system that you have. So we have sticks for virtually everything, and it is mainly developed by the United States Department of Defense for its contractors and subcontractors, and it is, like I said, to help them improve their security configurations, systems configurations, and anyone can use it at all, and it's a good thing. If you have you have a machine, we all have machine, you can use it, implement it, and then you're good to go. So these are the terms that we'll be coming up with in the talk. So why this talk? So I gained an interest in cybersecurity when I was in Ghana. I was working in the government, like the council. And so I came up with a lot of things that I saw needed to be solved. And cybersecurity happens to be those ones. And so I tried to understand And cybersecurity is very broad. So I wanted to really go into explore and then identify my area of interest. And I think I found it. I found Blue Team specifically, and then vulnerability management. And as a fresher or a first timer, how do I gain experience? So during my exploring, and then I chanced upon this wonderful guy. He does a boot camp online, and then I joined. And honestly speaking, it is one of the best. You get hands-on experience, and that's the main reason why I have something to tell you today. So I joined this boot camp, and then I've gained some experience, hands-on. All right, so what did I do then? I spent some VMs, introduced some misconfigurations. So I'm trying to mimic a real-world scenario. How do I go by that? And this is a typical example. You look at your right side, you see that I've disabled the firewall, which is a security vulnerability. Firewall, every system needs a firewall. Multiple layers, by the way. And then, but the left side, I introduced a guest account into the system. And as a guest account, it needs some privileges. It shouldn't have certain privileges, so to speak. So what I did was I gave the guest account administrative privilege, which is very serious. The password never expires, and then it doesn't require any password. That is very serious. That's what I did. And all this while I wanted to find out what will happen. And it left the system exposed. So I moved on, and then scanned. That's the next step. I scanned with Tenable. So Tenable basically is a vendor, a cyber vendor, top one as such. We have Splunk and the others. Tenable is also there. And so with Tenable, I was able to, identify certain vulnerabilities. There are many. We will come to that. And then one thing about Tenable is also the sticks that I was talking about. It have the guidelines already there. So when you scan the vulnerability, it just check your system to see if it matches. It audits the system. And if it matches, or it will check which one matches and which doesn't. And then it will give you a report so that you go ahead and then remediate, or you solve or resolve. That's what happened. So I think I will show you a brief about what the Tenable is. So how it works. These are just screenshots. I'll show you the real thing, how it works, so that you have a feel of. So this is the interface, okay? And so to get to scanning for any vulnerability takes between 30 to an hour. And so, our talk is not going to allow us, but I'm going to show you how you can go about this. You have, so this is the interface, all right? So, and these are the buttons. We have the scan. If you want to scan, you come here, all right? For a stick guideline, you need to create a template. And so you come here, create template. You go to advanced. Okay, yes. And here you just supply. You give a name to the scan. You see that I've done so many of them. You can just give the name here. You just supply whatever is necessary. All these are not needed. You come here, discovery, yeah. So basically you decide what is most important is this place, the compliance. And that is where the stick guidelines are. Okay. So you search for Windows. Windows, yeah, this is Windows. Yeah. And then you look for diesel stick. So as I was saying, you see, we have stick for so many things. You can see Oracle server here. You can see so many of them. Yeah, yes. Yeah, we have it here. These are Microsoft Windows 10 stick. And then boom, you have it. So these are the guidelines. You save it. I'm not going to do it. I've done it already. And then you scan. You come here, you create a scan, and then you select the template. Alright. You select the template, and then you provide whatever credentials that you need to, and then you scan. So when I scanned, I found over 100 audit field. I'm going to show you and how I yeah. So this is the report that it generated. And it's over 100 audits. So password must be at minimum be 14 characters, which is something very common that we take for granted. Built-in Microsoft password complexity filter must be enabled, and a host of them. All right. So now we are done with and this is what I came up with. I chose the most critical. There were 4 high, 2 highs, and then 2 mediums. Account must be configured to require password expiration. The minimum password age must be configured to at least a day. They are all medium. Password must at minimum be 14 characters, and the password history must be configured to 24 password remembered. Now, how do you decide? That's what I was saying, but it's part of the vulnerability management process. How do you decide which one to remediate first? Because I got to understand that in the real world, like you like I said, you find 100. Are you going to solve everything? The company may say, or your HR or whoever, your boss or whoever may say, no, don't touch this. We want you to do this. But how, in the end, if you are giving parameters, how do you decide which one to remediate first? And that's what vulnerability management is all about. So I chose these two. Password history must be configured to 24 password remembered, and then password should be 14 characters. I based my solution on these two. The 80-20 rule. What is the 80-20 rule? So in vulnerability management, the 80-20 rule is saying that 80% of security breaches could be prevented if 20% of vulnerabilities that are very high, vulnerabilities that when it is exploited could cause harm, irreparable damage. If those 20% of those vulnerabilities could be remediated, it could prevent 80% of most breaches. And this 80-20 rule, 80%, 20% rule is not only in IT or cybersecurity or whatever. It's applied everywhere. Even in my research, I found out it's applied even in business and the corporate world, everywhere. The next one of importance is the risk prioritization, and which the next 853 comes into play. So then it's 853 is saying that you should focus on controls that directly mitigate most of the vulnerabilities. So what it means is that vulnerabilities that will be exploited easily needs to be remediated first before anything else. And so this is how the two vulnerabilities were chosen from the initial four that I selected, and then I remediated. And then I rescanned again. I went through the process again, and then it came back that out of the 100 audit field, it came to about 50%, which is, it's not ideal, but in this situation, we are limited by resources, so we made do with that. So what can I say about this? That in this whole process, small things matters. You see that we take for granted, like password age, password length. I was doing a research, and the most common password in 2025 is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They said about 60% or so of the password that we used in 2025 common is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see that the small things really matters. You shouldn't overcomplicate things. Just go by the rule. You need 14 characters, you need 12 characters. Or you need uppercase, lowercase, combined with figures, special characters, what have you. We should take it very seriously. And then the last one is security is everyone's business. So you realize that in a typical, I've worked in like I said, I was working in Ghana, and people just say, look, I'm nobody, nobody's going to attack me. Just do it. I'll just give just some random name for a password. People don't care about the security of their system. But by the time we realized, you see that we use similar password for almost every account that we create online. So for all you know, you have used the same password for virtually everything. And you are there, you are saying nobody, I'm less important, nobody is going to attack me. Nobody needs my credentials for nothing. And then, fortunately, they get their hands on your password, your credentials, and then boom, your credit card, your bank account is being emptied. And then you'll be saying, come on, how? What's happening? So security is everyone's business, wherever we are. We need to take security very seriously. And so that's the end of my talk. And this is my LinkedIn. If you want us to connect, you can scan and then we take it from there. Thank you. All right, so any question? All right.
You got any thoughts on the differences between the DISA stakes and CIS? Good question.
Yeah, the question again,
Do you have any thoughts on the difference between the DISA stakes and the CIS stakes? They're both hardening guidelines.
Yeah, so basically, so stake is guidelines for any system. But the DISA one that I know is for the I've forgotten the full name. Yeah, the defense industry. And then the other one, I don't know.
CIS is sort of just a general benchmark.
Oh, okay.
That's available.
Okay.
But they serve a similar function.
Mm-hmm.
I think different focus.
Different focus. All right. Thank you. Any more? Yeah.
Thanks for the talk. When you talk about vulnerability management, so are you considering the whole pipeline in terms of, obviously when you're doing vulnerability management, the idea is you're doing it for someone else, an organization, and having said that will fall under some sort of policy saying you must do this. So are you looking at the end-to-end saying, this is what we do, we scan, and then
we identify.
What do we do with the scan? Who's responsible for the remediation? And on the risk prioritization, are you also thinking, right, it could be a high risk flagged by the scanner, but is it applicable to environment? Are you looking at the end-to-end, or is it more a case of this is just specific to go and do the scan, proper report, and then?
So for a good analyst, that wouldn't be the best thing. Your job is to do a thorough work, present the report as it is. But we all know that, in any organization, there are, interest. So they are bound to happen. Like your manager, or sometimes even subsystems, they have this legacy software that if a vulnerability is fixed, it's probably going to cause them. For instance, maybe in a bank, they are using a legacy software or like a COBOL or Fortran for their programs. And then there's a new update. You've done the update. Okay? If you do the update, there's a probability that update will cause the system down. And so what do? You have to leave it. Let it be. Okay? Or better still, you consult your head CISO or general manager at the board or whatever, and then you decide which one to remediate.
That's what I was saying. At the end of the day, it's vulnerability management and risk management. They are going to go together. You could be the vulnerability analyst, you're just doing the vulnerability, but at the end of the day, the business decides what to change to the business system. The business has to decide whether result actually, and someone essentially has to accept this is a risk that we are willing to deal with. So it's so that hence my question of, are we looking at end to end, or are we just focusing, we're just
I think there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. And at the end of the day, like you said, the bosses decide. And you have to comply. All right. Okay. Thank you then. That's the end, right? All right. Thank you.
Yeah.